Hi, welcome back. My name is JD Ferrell. I am a licensed professional counselor in the state of Illinois, and this is another episode of a Modern Man podcast presented to you by the Modern Podcast Network. Hey, welcome back to the pod. I want to thank you all for tuning in. I want to thank you all for listening over the years, whether you left, came back, back on a roll. The modern FM is we're transitioning to the modern HQ. Okay, we're going to start hosting events for the modern. We have one coming up February 5th called Men in Community. It's going to be at Big Star Wicker Park. If you are in the Chicagoland area, I recommend any man who just wants to come out, have community, meet some men, join, break bread, have a snack. Let's introduce each other, kind of come together. Please come out. Spread the word, spread the support to anyone who's interested. Men in Community, February 5th, 5:30 Wicker Park. You can tune in on themodernhq.com, get some info, the Modern HQ on Instagram. Whatever you want. You can get on my Instagram, whether it's JD Farrell, whether it's the Modern FM. Yeah, wherever you want to find us. That'll be our first event on February 5th, Men in Community. We'll be posting about that. And then also, if you haven't tuned in, Just Jenna, also a part of the Modern Podcast Network. She's had a feed going strong for about 6 months right now, putting out content, really grounding content, really believing in yourself, feeling yourself, really focusing on whatever goals you have in life, whatever you're trying to achieve, really be intentional about it, really actualize it, and follow Jenna as you both are going through this journey together. So follow Jenna Maryland and Just Jenna podcasts. We have a Modern Man podcast. We have Men in Community, and we have plenty other things coming down the pipeline as we're rolling. Now we are the Modern HQ, but we also still have the Modern Podcast Network. So right now, what I want to share with you right now is something that's been on my mind, which obviously got me wanting to speak, is denial, okay? And I'm going to later talk about denial as a defense mechanism and kind of like what defense mechanisms are. But first, I just want to talk about like what stirred all this discussion in my mind about denial and why I want to talk about it. And denial, the defense mechanism, because I was just, walking through the beautiful city as we have Chicago. And I was like, people are in complete denial when we have ICE on the streets. We have National Guard. I was just in DC, like on the side of the road. I mean, every year in the whole new diet phase, these things got me thinking like, oh no, we are in complete denial. And like that, the fact that like these things aren't like out of the ordinary. The fact that ICE is on the streets, like, well, we're just in complete denial that like, oh no, we're just kicking people out of the country. I don't want to get too political in that, but like complete denial. Think about wealth mobility. Goes back to an example one of my first bartending jobs was Outback Steakhouse. Hey, don't shit on it. The homie Russ, great rapper Russ, he used to work at the Outback Steakhouse. But when I was bartending there was a host. And what is it, maybe 2016 or so. And this host is talking about how much they're just like, oh yeah, I really, billionaires are doing it right. They got it all figured it out. And I'm like, I'm on their side. And I'm just discussing like, my guy, how much student loan debt do you have already? And you are making minimum wage hosting at Outback Steakhouse right now. Why are you concerned with anything the billionaires are doing right now? That has to be complete denial that they care about your $7.25 an hour ass, or the fact that you will ever be in the group or the rooms with the billionaires. I just like to make that leap. Like you have to be. I know it sounds like a complete asshole, and that's why I wanted to talk about it. Is because you have to be in complete denial. You just have to. And same thing, like this isn't shitting on all those who has had like great weight loss changes, because I mean, I've lost a significant amount of weight 2 separate times in my life. Like I know it is possible, but if every year you do the same thing where you're like, every year I really want to lose this weight. And it's not an extra like 10, 15 pounds, 20 pounds here and there that you want to cut. Like, you're like, no, this is the year. This is the year where I make a dramatic change in my life. And like, no, you're in complete denial. It's okay. Just be comfortable in your own skin. Don't be in denial that you're ever going to do something that you've never done. And that sounds like I'm shaming or putting any energy on that. Just you're in denial. Like politicians. And this is for the good. This is for the left, for the right, whether you're pro these people or not. I can think of someone who is on the left, like a Bernie. All right. This man has been in office for God knows how longer, well longer than I've been alive. Okay. The assumption that anything about my daily life is going to change if he's in office another couple years, complete denial. Complete denial. If in Illinois we have 2 Democratic senators instead of 1 Republican, 1 Democrat. I mean, maybe some things are going to happen, but no, complete denial that they are going to do anything to create dramatic change in my life. Denial. It is the only way. So as I'm walking through the streets of DC, seeing National Guard soldiers, as I'm walking through the streets of Chicago, seeing ICE agents, and as I see everyone making the traditional New Year's resolutions, it sparked up denial, and that we are all in complete denial. It's a delusion. It's denial. Delusion is when we're, having psychotic thoughts, and then that's cognitive. But like denial is an active defense mechanism that we are all participating in. So, all right, right now, I just did my little rant about why I wanted to talk about denial. Okay. The defense mechanisms. So if you're not familiar in the realm of psychology, defense mechanisms are usually more stable. They're when, the mind is trying to defend the ego. Okay. And I'm not going to try and act like I'm a psychoanalytic expert. I do practice from a psychoanalytic lens, but the ego is kind of like our present state. The ego kind of governs our principles, how we live our life, kind of the here and the now. All right. The ego is our decision making, what we're doing. Then our super ego is like the morality principle, all the things that our parents taught us, all the things that watching all these educational shows that our teachers told us, that we learned on Sesame Street. Don't look both ways before you cross the road. My mom would always say, make wise choices. All the should and should nots, all the oughts, all the must, everything that we feel like we have to do to be successful, to be anything, whether it's to be unsuccessful, all the things, that we feel like we have to do in life, good or bad. That's the super ego. The ego is kind of how we move through the day to day. The ego is our present state, kind of, and then the super ego governs that ego. And then next, below the surface, as they would describe, is the id. That's kind of the pleasure principle, the instinctual, just like the gas with no brakes, as they may say. The impulse, all the impulses we have. So in terms of Freudian, more moved on to Anna-Freud, thought, all right, when our mind is in defense of something, when our ego is struggling because our super ego tells us we should be doing this, but our ego doesn't want to do this, then we have these ego defenses, which become defense mechanisms. So again, when the world tells us we should all have abs, we should all have six packs, that's our super ego saying, you ought to do this. This is how you should look. But our ego is telling us, I can't. And the present, no, this feels good. You're fighting with your id because of what the impulse wants now, the here and now, versus the ego, how to actually navigate in between these two. Okay, so when our ego and then our super ego are having this struggle, when we're having this defense about what I ought to do, what I should do, but what I'm actually doing, that's when these defense mechanisms come up. Okay, so a defense mechanism, then they're usually stable. They're usually related to kind of personality functioning. Like we said, it's defending the ego. Okay, defending the ego, because the ego has to show up all the time in the here and now. Just because the super ego doesn't want to do this, I need something to fight that thing off, telling me what I should and should not be doing. Okay. And the thing I like to kind of differentiate between a defense mechanism and a coping mechanism is really like, okay, a defense mechanism is usually decreasing something that's causing internal stress. When I say that internal stress, that's the stress between the ego and the superego, or the ego between the id. Okay, that's that internal stress. If I'm thinking of maybe a coping mechanism, okay, a coping mechanism is usually conscious, flexible, and kind of stress dependent. How I said the other one is internal, is usually an internal stress battle. This one is usually dependent upon the stressor and depends the coping mechanism. Okay, like a coping mechanism is picking, laughing. You could be in a social situation talking about yourself. You could be afraid that you're gonna fail a test upcoming, so you want to run and work out a lot. Like putting work into something or putting energy into a different habit because something else is struggling is called sublimation. That is the defense mechanism, sublimation. But what the coping mechanism that you're doing in that aspect is running. The thing in your ego, in your head, you're doing sublimation. You're like, okay, I'm really freaking out about this test because my super ego tells me if I fail this test, I'm a failure at life. So instead of thinking about and putting all my energy in this test, I'm going to go put all my energy into running 10 miles because I can focus on that. I can't focus on failing this test right now. So let me put all this energy over there. So I'm doing sublimation. I'm putting the energy into something else. But how am I doing that? What coping mechanism am I having? I am running. All right. So before I talk a little bit more about denial, about some ways I feel like America really is like ingrained in denial, I'm going to talk because it was interesting. My supervisor was doing a talk on some defense mechanisms. So these were her personal experiences, and in therapy, what she sees them come up in the room. And the thing I want to distinguish between these two is that she brought this about what clients bring into the room. So I feel like the defense mechanisms that clients bring into the room, that like our goal as psychoanalytic therapists is to kind of highlight and bring that awareness to the unconscious. To the little background, if you don't know about DEF and psychodynamic psychology, the real goal is to bring clients aware of their unconscious processes and help them identify these processes, improve their self-awareness, gain a new understanding to their behaviors. So we're not usually even aware that we're doing this. I will kind of distinguish, and I'll make a little note up at the end, is maybe these are unhealthy defense mechanisms. That's why we want to highlight them, make them aware of them. And the difference, denial, we all might be in a healthy sense of denial. Because, bruh, if we took a chance to actually sit in the shit we all going through, it's too crazy. So we need denial. We need this denial. So that's something I'll get to later. But first, let me just run through. These are some of the most prevalent, I would say, defense mechanisms that are seen in the field of psychology, and that comes into the room. We have regression. Regression is when someone, whether it's a conversation, whether it's an object, whether it's just a certain time of day, but the client may regress to a certain age, to a certain state of being, to a certain way of acting. That's when, say you went through something very stressful or traumatic at 12 years old. So every time, we start talking about when you're 12 years old, you regress to being that 12 years old who maybe didn't get the love you got at that age, or maybe you went through, like I said, something very stressful. So now you need care, you need attention, or maybe you have to protect yourself. So, you regress, but then it makes you want to protect yourself and defend yourself. So that 12-year-old is like always in anger mode and has to like fight for themselves. So you can regress at any age, at any time, for any particular reason. So that's why regression is really easy to show up and why it's really common in the room. The next one, which is probably the most popular, is repression. That's when we put, say someone called us ugly, someone slapped us when we were, younger, someone just did something we did not like very much. We repressed it. We put it in the back of our mind. We act like, oh, that didn't bother us. I'm not going to think about that right now. And then, lo and behold, years down the line, that pops up, whether it shows up in a physical way and manifests in a way that now we have a twitch. We can't do something the same way anymore. Our motor leaf actions, it comes up in that way. Or maybe it just comes up and we're like, all right, why am I so overwhelmed when this is happening? Why am I avoidant when this is happening? Why do I get anxious when this is happening? Oh, because those repressed feelings, they're coming back up. And unless you process those and work through those, they're going to manifest in other ways. And they might be little ways, or they might be in bigger and have physical manifestations. But the more and more you repress things, the harder and harder it is to work through those as they come. It's like a Jack in the Box. Or think of, I like to use the example, especially when I used to work with kids a lot more, a soda. All right. Say we shake up that soda real, real good. Okay. You shake it up. If you just open that thing, that's going to go everywhere, right? So imagine you keep shaking it, you repress it. You keep shaking it, you repress it. You keep shaking it, you repress it. All right. That person keeps going through all these stressful events, has no outlet. Oh, that soda's going to explode. It's going to explode on everybody in its path. But if you take that same soda, you shake it, go through something stressful, you release a little bit, close it back, shake that same thing up. All right. It's a little shaken, but let's release a little bit. Okay. Then shut it back. You can keep putting that same object through many stressful situations. And because it didn't repress those things, because it had the coping skills, because, it's able to constantly move forward. Next one we're going to talk about is projection. All right. Projection, see a lot of this, especially mainly as a ego defense when we're younger. But obviously it's, if they're going through something and they project their feelings they're going through onto you. If they just had something where they feel like they may be a failure because a test is coming up. So now they're projecting, so they're calling you a failure. If they feel like they're not good enough, if they want love and all these things that they're not getting, they're going to project that onto you. What is the classic thing they say about cheaters? They're just projecting that onto you. If someone is always investigating that you're cheating on them, they're projecting. It's either they are projecting because they want to cheat because they have cheated, or because they just have feelings of insecurity because people have cheated on them in the past. It's all a projection. All right. Our next ego defense, introjection. And we're like, whoa, introjection, that's bringing something in. And we're talking about an ego defense. Yes. All right. If we're defending that super ego, if this super ego tells us the only way to be successful is make millions of dollars a year, the only way to be successful is be married with kids. If that's what our super ego is telling us. All right. The ego defense, we have to introject new information. Okay. Which will help create another ego defense. That's what we're saying. So introjection, it helps forms. Sorry, I said formate. I don't think formate's a word. It helps forms a new superego. It helps it evolve. And then there's also introjection of me, like the therapist and other therapists in the world. I know with my supervisor, I tell her, she becomes my new inner monologue. And as I'm even processing with clients, and I'm like, okay. There's a little Sarah in my head that's just like, and how would you handle that? And same thing, like let's say I'm at the park and I'm journaling, or I'm at home working on something. I have that interjection of my supervisor being like, okay, how would you do it like this? How would that work out? And that's the same thing as a therapist, as a client does. We introject a new monologue. Let's say you have those obsessive thoughts that's constantly telling me I'm not good enough, I'm not enough. and you go to someone once a week who says you are good enough, you are enough, you do deserve love, you're going to eventually start having those thoughts instead of the constant thoughts of I'm not enough. Or if you're asking yourself the question, what makes me think I'm not enough? You might even phrase it differently, or same thing. What makes me think I'm not enough? And then you might just look at that same question and be like, I can't think of anything, when previously you could think of 10 things that made you think like not enough, because now you're looking at those as like strength based. So that is why that interjection, whether it's a therapist, whether it's new media, whether it's new community around you, it helps forms that super ego, and it helps defend when that ego is telling you, again, this is what you must do. This is what you ought to do. This is what you should do, when it's not really what you want to do. The last two, one I kind of touched on a little bit when I mentioned the running, when I was trying to kind of distinguish coping mechanisms. Sublimation. Sublimation is when we're going through something tough, when we kind of can't deal with what we're kind of doing at the present moment. So we fuel all that energy, all what we're doing, into something else. Okay. It can be, I have so much stress, I have so much anxiety, so I'm going to start drawing. Okay. I have so much fear about what's going on, so I'm going to go camping. You know, that's when a lot of people who feel insignificant, insecure, when they say in breakups, the best way to get over someone is to get under someone else. I have this ego defense of like, oh, this person doesn't love me anymore, I feel like crap, so let me put that energy into physically, like literally and figuratively, into someone else. Sublimation. All right. And the last one is displacement, which it happens a lot in relationships. It's not a great one, but this is when you're displacing whatever you're going through onto another person. When you're angry at your boss because they talked down to you or didn't give you something you wanted, so you put it on your partner. Or same thing, like you got real mad at someone at the gym today, and like, you didn't want to take it out on them at the gym, so you're cussing out your best friend for no reason. You're displacing that anger that should be going towards a certain person onto someone, like a comfortable model, a comfortable form. And again, in some places, when people know that this is happening, when people accept this, very much okay. But as in terms of consistency, would you like it if your partner is constantly displacing their anger, their shame, their disappointment of what they're going through from someone else onto you? No one would like that. Like that would, no. No. Okay. All right. So that was, again, kind of the overwhelming, what you see, what comes into the room. In the therapeutic room, those are a lot of the defense mechanisms. Now I want to move on to talk about, again, how I said denial is a collective defense mechanism. All right. It's not that people are weak, This world is hard. If people had to actually deal with the reality of what we're sitting in, it'd be so overwhelming. So overwhelming. So I get it. I get denial is necessary, but we're still in it. We are still kind of a collective, healthy sense of denial. And I personally think it's a little unhealthy. Supervisor said it's healthy. I might say we're pushing the line. All right. I'm gonna run through these. Are what I have 1, 2, 4 things that I feel just America are kind of taking a blind eye, aka in denial about. By the way, all the other stuff I got the National Institute of Mental Health. These next 4 points that we're going over is just JD's thoughts and kind of observations. Yeah. So the first one is stress. Stress. Americans are definitely in denial about stress. We don't take vacation. The amount of times we work, how little we nap, how little pay we get from our work, how little benefits we get from our work. Like, bro, we are stressed. We are stressed. All right. Well, what was that thing they did when like works? They're like unlimited PTO. This was a thing because they're like, oh, if we gave them unlimited PTO, not everyone's going to take it. Like, what? Nah, bro, take that shit. Every couple weeks, take a 3-day weekend. But no, we are stressed. And we don't want to admit it. We don't want to admit it. Like, I mean, look at when they just legalized weed and marijuana would be more professional. Everyone around the country, like, I need an edible to sleep. I need marijuana for this. I need it for this. I need some ointment. I need some oil. Baby, we are stressed. It is a stress reliever. All right? It is stress, and then people want to drink, and they're like, oh, this is making it worse. We are stressed. We are stressed. That's why a couple years ago when we wanted a new president, we're just like, we just want someone who doesn't stress us out. We just don't want more stress. We are in denial. Denial, people. We are in denial. We are stressed. Again, the theme of this podcast, I'm going to shove it down. We are in denial. So I want, if you're listening, you're in denial. In denial. I want you to, with that, we're going to do a weekly stress test. All right? Every day, wake up. Be like, how stressful was yesterday? Do that for a couple weeks. I want you to see what your graph looks like. Do it. Do it. All right. The next thing I feel like we're in denial about in this country, loneliness. All right. Loneliness. Do I need to say it again? We are in denial about loneliness. All right. There's a reason why we're trying to have an event, Men in Community, February 5th, Big Star Wicker Park, letting you know, in the Chicagoland area. Okay, come out. We know about 15% of men don't have close friendships, okay? But I think women are lonely as well. Women are lonely as well. They talk about the difference in male friendships and women friendships, about close friends and not, and things they're willing to tell. Just because you're hanging out with people doesn't mean you're not lonely. How many people these people know what you're going through? You can be surrounded by people but be alone. And I think that's what a lot of times we're going about and talking about. Like, I would see so many people, and there would always be my biggest fear, I'm like, of getting married. It's like, I couldn't imagine laying next to someone and like hating that person. Like, I mean, the divorce rate has gone down now, but you know how many people go to bed in this country and can't stand the person they lay next to? Like, blows my mind. Absolutely blows my mind. I know it happens. The reality of it, because we're in denial, because we're lonely, but we're also afraid to let that person in next to us. We're so alone that we're afraid to even let that person in. Person that chose to spend the rest of our life with us. We're such in fucking denial. It's absolutely insane. It is absolutely insane. Complete denial. Complete denial. All right. Next thing, I feel like complete denial. The amount of control we have over our own lives. Whoa, mic drop. I'm gonna drop my mic. But no, think about it. You are in complete denial over how much control you have over your own life. Think about it. And this isn't starting with like, the black man talking about just the color of your skin. No, I'm talking about the country you were born in, the family you were born into, the language you speak, all right, the amount of money your family has, like all those things. Because yes, all right, being born on this piece of land, I had some privileges, okay? All right, most of you know, like my upbringing was a little non-traditional. So yes, I had some opportunities, but I also, very much as easily think a couple hundred years, if I didn't get brought up, I could been born to a great family still in Nigeria or Ghana. Or I could have not, and I could have not have been born at all. Or, like all the things, or I could have been brought on a different boat and gone to Brazil or Venezuela And now the same place where now we're ruling over Venezuela, I could be living there as a black Latino. Like, again, how much control did I really have over any of that? And then even if we look at, I can have control and go move to another place, but then my child, how much control do they have over if I want to choose to grow them up as Afro Latinos in a different country off the grid? Do they have control over that? So like, yeah, how much control do we really have? And that's talking very abstract and very ambiguous. But then we're in a quote unquote free country and we have free politics and free voting. But like, how much control do we actually have? I mean, the last like 4 elections, the popular vote has lost. So how much control do we really have? I mean, we all want some type of health care. We all want like people to not go starving. We all want clean water, but like, how much control do we really have? You know, if my water shuts off today in this apartment I've lived in like 5 years, I have a nice apartment. I think so. But like, if the electricity shuts off, water shuts off, it's freezing fucking cold in Chicago right now. What control do I have over any of that actually turning back on? Like, genuinely. Maybe I'm in denial, you know? Or again, not maybe. We're in denial about it. That's what this is about. Because I don't have any control. If the phone grid then just goes off, what control do I have? I have absolutely no control. Yeah. How we're all no. And I'm going to go in a deeper dive, and I don't want to like go down this rabbit horse. But no, we don't have much control. And it's not like we're in a simulation, but like, you're in control for the state of where you're born, who you are. Like, you have a resemblance of control. Okay? Yeah. All right. The last thing, I feel like complete denial. This is something I know I'm in complete denial just because of the grief and trauma I went through. But the last thing I really want to touch on that I think Americans are in complete denial, a collective complete denial about, is grief. Grief and loss. What did I just say last time talking about control? How much of us wanted to grow up to be a professional athlete? You know, how much wanted us to be president? How many people had all these big dreams? And you're doing something that you really don't love. That's a loss. That's a loss of expectation. How many people wanted to have children and aren't? How many people wanted to have a family? Whether it's just a partner. How many people didn't want to get divorced? That's grief. That's a loss. Because a loss of expectations, a loss of grief, all this unprocessed pain we carry with us. We're in complete denial that we're in so much pain. Think of all the people we've lost over the years, sending young men, young women off to war. Think of just parents and grandparents lost and siblings. All the loss. I mean, I know for the last couple years how many friends I've had posting all these dead children. All these dead children, all right? Because of what's going on in the Middle East, okay? And like, we're not processing that grief. We literally, like, we have to put a block, like, no, like, I can't focus on that. There's so much going on here. That's grief. And I know eventually we're going to stop talking about this, maybe in like 60 years. COVID. No one allows us to grieve COVID. But COVID was so much of a loss. When we talk about loss of expectations, a loss of reality, a loss of what was normal, a loss of like that this can actually happen. And no one gives you the right to process it. No one does. The society doesn't. If we are collectively denying these things, we have to collectively grieve these things. And then unless we have a collective healing about the stress we're going through unless we collectively acknowledge that we're lonely, unless we collectively acknowledge that we don't fucking control none of this shit. Unless we collectively grieve, we are going to continue to be in denial. So I guess my point then is to advocate for collective healing. This was from my grad program, was talk about how important collective healing is. And then if we are collectively in denial, we have to collectively heal. So maybe in future situations, we talk about how can we come together, how we can collectively heal. Because what we're doing now ain't it. That's all I know. What we're doing now ain't it. That's all I got to say to that. Yeah. So wrap it up. It's been nice speaking with you all. It's been nice sharing my thoughts about the collective denial, the collective defense mechanism that we have as a country. And to wrap up, healthy denial is good because facing reality is hard. So I get a healthy denial is good. But I do think we should examine the core problems. We should examine grief, stress, loneliness, and control. And really learn that, all right, if we are collectively denying these things together, we have to collectively heal through these things as well. All right. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of a Modern Man Podcast. Again, we are presented to you by the Modern Podcast Network and the Modern HQ. Please follow me at the Modern HQ, at the Modern FM. Follow Just Jenna at Jenna Maryland, at Just Jenna Podcast. Please listen to the Just Jenna Podcast. I'm going to at least be putting out a podcast once a month. Don't know the quite schedule we're going for there and going forward. I will let you know. I will have it concrete because we are getting more content to you. I'm making a video coming out soon. Thank you to all the contributors who are helping me with that. But I hope you enjoyed the Modern Man Podcast. We are now in video form, so you can find us on YouTube. You can find us some Instagram Reels, wherever you watch video or listen to podcasts. Find a Modern Man Podcast. Find Just Jenna Podcast. Listen to the Modern Podcast Network because, yeah, we support you for supporting us. So stay tuned, and I'll talk to you soon. Thank you to all the Modernites.